Well, it's time for me to say a sentence I honestly never thought I'd say. We're gonna watch a Scooby-Doo film today, and we're gonna do a Scooby-Doo look back, as today, at the Channel Point's request of Gary, we're gonna review Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, released in 2001. So Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase is an animated science fiction comedy mystery film, which was actually released direct-to-video, and was the fourth and final in a series based off the Hanna-Barbera Scooby-Doo Saturday morning cartoons. In this one, the mystery gang is accidentally beamed into a cyberspace video game, where they have to avoid some sort of phantom virus who's trying to hurt them. And while this might just seem like a random Scooby-Doo movie, there's actually a lot of interesting tidbits about this one. The first being that this was the final Hanna-Barbera production to be co-produced by both William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, as Hanna died on March 22nd, 2001. The reason I mentioned that the Scooby-Doo film was in a series of four is it was also the fourth and final Scooby-Doo film to be animated overseas by a Japanese animation studio, Mook Animation. And also, this film, along with Aloha Scooby-Doo, was the first Scooby-Doo film to be released on Blu-ray on April 5th, 2011. This is also the first film in which Greg Griffin voiced Daphne after Mary Kay Bergman, who voiced Daphne in the first three films of this series, passed away in 1999. It was also the last film in which Scott Innes, who had voiced Scooby and Shaggy since the 90s, voiced those two characters, as well as B.J. Ward, who voiced Velma since the 80s. This film also spawned a video game of the same name released on original PlayStation and Game Boy Advance in 2001, and the PlayStation version became a greatest hits title in 2003. And on a personal level, this film was a personal favorite of mine as a kid. I've probably seen this film 100 times, now 101, but this is also probably the first time I've seen this film in roughly 15 years. So was it as good as I remember it? Well, let's find out as we review Scooby-Doo and a Cyber Chase, released in 2001. So our film begins with a Professor Kaufman and his two students, Bill and Eric, trying to get some sort of laser working. The laser then activates on its own and spawns some sort of phantom virus, which starts stealing the data out of their computer. The virus then attacks Eric with a telephone before menacingly walking towards them before the scene fades out. We then cut to the mystery gang who are heading towards Eric's university, excited to play his new video game. Turns out Eric is an old high school friend of Fred. They arrive at State University, boy that's original, where they troll the overweight Officer Wembley, who's kind of a dick, but also he's just trying to do his job, man. They meet up with Eric, Bill, and the professor who tell them about the laser, which basically can spawn anything they want from the real world into cyberspace. And while they're doing this, Officer Wembley creeps outside for some reason. Eric shows off his video game, which he made based off the mystery game. Bill also made a video game, which is a lot simpler. It's a baseball game. They're both planning to joint enter a state science fair, in which the prize is $250,000. They also demonstrate the laser, which spawns some Scooby snacks into cyberspace before spawning them back. The professor also tells them about the phantom virus attack, and they reveal that they stopped the virus by holding a magnet up to it, which caused it to run away. They also believe the virus is still somewhere within the university. Armed with some giant magnets, the gang split up. Fred, Daphne, and Velma go into the basement where they're attacked by the phantom virus, while Scooby and Shaggy gorge themselves in the cafeteria. The trio give chase to the virus until they run to Officer Wembley, who tells them they're not allowed to be here and takes them back to the professor's lab. Scooby and Shaggy, meanwhile, have successfully given themselves diabetes, but they're too attacked by the virus. And now it's time for a montage where they attack the virus of multiple things, while a rendition, albeit a kind of poor one, of Scooby-Doo Where Are You plays in the background. The gang reconvene as the viruses chase Scooby and Shaggy into the lab, and they all end up bumping into each other before somebody activates the laser and sends them into cyberspace. Eric, Bill, the professor, and Officer Wembley all then show up, meaning one of them activated the laser. And Officer Wembley makes a good point. Can't you just spawn them back? And Eric's like, no, I can't. They have to beat the game. Even though he literally spawned back a pair of Scooby snacks like 10 minutes ago. What? Well, guess I gotta beat the game, and the first level is a moon level, in which Shaggy activates Ultra Instinct. They remember that the way to beat each level is to get some Scooby snacks, but they got some obstacles in the form of the phantom virus and some weird ant-looking moon men dude. The virus then tells them play ball, which immediately makes it really obvious who the villain is like 20 minutes into the movie, but whatever. They then find a conveniently placed rover and make their way towards the snacks, but uh-oh, the virus has a rover of his own and destroys theirs. Scooby then makes a mad dash towards the snacks, and after outwitting the ant moon men, they advance to the next level. They then spawned in a Roman Colosseum where there's some chalk in the middle which looks like a baseball diamond, and then the virus shows up and makes some more baseball references. Wonder who the villain is. The virus then unleashes the obstacles, 3 skeleton gladiator men, as well as a very weirdly colored lion who has the Scooby snacks. The skeletons catch Shaggy up in a net, and Scooby uses a chariot to help avoid them. The other 3 have to deal with the weird colored lion, so Fred orders Daphne to strip and uses her jacket to bait the lion back where it came from. Scooby and Shaggy continue to distract the skeletons while the other 3 get the Scooby snacks and they advance again. And looks like they're in some nice, vast grassland. Oh, this looks completely unintimidating. Oh no, there's dinosaurs. They're in the prehistoric period. And where there's dinosaurs, there's a T-Rex, albeit a weirdly colored, very weird-looking T-Rex ridden by the Phantom Virus who has a spear now for some reason. They avoid the weird dinosaur and the weird virus and end up in a weird cave where they see a weird drawing of a volcano erupting. And sure enough, as Scooby and Shaggy go to get firewood, they see a volcano erupting. And then they're like, oh, that's a clue. That must be where the Scooby snacks are, but we're like a couple hours away from this volcano. How the hell are we gonna get there? Well, luckily, some woolly mammoths spawn out of fucking nowhere and take them there. They climb enough up the volcano to avoid the T-Rex and the virus again, and then they see a baby pterodactyl who has its wing trapped by a rock. Scooby gets a random courage boost and goes up there to save the pterodactyl, which luckily has the Scooby snacks. And because we're now halfway through a 75-minute program, we gotta speed things up and montage our way for the rest of the levels. Level 4 is a water level where they avoid a giant shark. Level 5 appears to be the Bug's Life where they avoid a giant ant. Level 6 is Japan where Daphne somehow defeats a samurai with a broom. Level 7 is Ancient Egypt where they run throughout the pyramids and avoid the virus on a camel. Level 8 is Camelot where they throw water on the virus's dragon and then cuck a princess. And level 9 is the North Pole where they get the Scooby snacks from the top of the North Pole. And now they're home 3. No, just kidding, they're still in the game. Level 10 is some sort of weird city. Looks like they're in Cyberland. Let's ask that old lady for help. Oh wait, that's the virus. The virus makes another baseball reference, wonder who the villain is, and then chases them into some sort of malt shop where they find the cyber versions of themselves who are more based off the original character models from the Saturday morning cartoons. The Mystery Gang and the Cyber Gang are then confronted by the virus and make their way in the Mystery Machine to the Cyberland Carnival. They then see somebody hitting in a batting cage, and turns out it's the Phantom Virus. Wonder who the villain is. And then they're confronted by 5 villains from the Mystery Gang's past. The Creeper, the Gator Ghoul, Jaguaro, the Tar Monster, and Old Iron Face, along with the Phantom Virus. But then Velma's like, wait a minute, gang. These guys aren't real. They're just dudes in costumes. Well, they were in the real world, but in this world, they're actually real. The Mystery Gang and the Cyber Gang then pair off with themselves and avoid all the monsters. The Shaggies get the Tar Monster and immediately assault him with a hammer. The Daphnes make their way into a haunted house where they end up trapping the Creeper with a trap door. The Freds end up on a roller coaster which is about to go off the tracks. They then jump 5 stories onto a bounce house where they're fine, while Gator Ghoul, who was also up there, gets brutally murdered. The Velmas end up in a wax museum where they're confronted by Old Iron Face. They bump into each other and lose their glasses, which knocks Old Iron Face into the wax, which traps him momentarily. And the Scoobies use a carousel to make Jaguaro all dizzy. The Freds then show up, but Gator Ghoul, who's somehow still alive, is right behind them. He's promptly speared by the Shaggies, however, who are running from the Tar Monster. We're gonna need a montage to speed this up. So in this montage, the Daphnes electrocute the Creeper using some old camera. The Velmas have Old Iron Face piss off a mama goat. The Freds play bumper cars with Gator Ghoul and send him into the dunk tank. The Shaggies turn the Tar Monster into the Cotton Candy Monster. And the Scoobies send Jaguaro off the edge of a log ride. They then all reconvene outside a video game arcade, which they've determined is where the final Scooby snacks are. Turns out Shaggy still has his magnet, however, and the magnet actually affects the Cyber Gang. Deeming it too dangerous, the Mystery Gang leaves the Cyber Gang behind and go into the arcade themselves. And hey look, there's the snacks on top of a video game machine of the video game that they're already in, that the movie is based off. Now that's super meta. Scooby makes a mad dash again, but it's not going to be that easy this time as here's the virus. The virus then makes more baseball references, wonder who the villain is, and attacks them with sports equipment. Fred holds him off with a magnet while Scooby goes for the snacks, but Fred trips over a ball and then gets assaulted by an arcade machine. Back outside the arcade, the Cyber Gang want to do something, but the monsters have all reconvened and start chasing them again. Cyber Scooby gets away and makes his way into the arcade, where he starts distracting the Phantom Virus. And while he does this, real Scooby is able to grab the snacks, which destroys all the monsters and the virus. Having completed the game, the Mystery Gang say goodbye to the Cyber Gang, and they're back in the real world. They then review what they've learned, and all they learned is that the Phantom Virus really liked baseball, so oh my good golly, Miss Molly, that must mean that Bill, who invented a fucking baseball video game, is the culprit, and he's arrested by Officer Wembley. So why did Bill do it? Well, pretty simple. He was butthurt that the professor picked Eric's game over his, even though he had been at the university 2 years longer than Eric, and he was going to take all the money for himself after he killed the Mystery Gang and destroyed Eric's game. And he wouldn't have got away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling assholes. The film ends with Eric taking the Mystery Gang out for lunch before Scooby-Doo, the talking dog, effortlessly hacks Eric's video game to feed himself Scooby snacks. And the moral of this story is that Eric should really invest in a fucking firewall. So this was really fun watching this again. I actually remember a lot of this, even though I hadn't seen it in 15 years. It's like muscle memory. Like, you know, you haven't seen something in a while, but as soon as you see it again, it immediately comes back. I was shocked at how much of this I remembered. I remember pretty much the whole film. Was this film as good as I remember? Well, no, obviously not, but that's kind of impossible. It's a film made for kids, so obviously I loved it when I was a kid. I thought it was somewhat cringe at points, you know, watching it now, but I still enjoyed it somewhat. However, noticing some of these plot holes now and just how incredibly obvious they made who the villain is just like a fourth of the way into the movie kinda bugged me a little bit. Like, I know it's a kid's movie, but they were just shoving it, bro. Like, they established that Bill made a baseball game, and then they immediately have the Phantom Virus make a baseball reference. It's like, gee, I wonder who it is. I guess you could argue it's like, oh, well, maybe they were acting like they were going for a fake out, but then they didn't actually go for the fake out, is the thing. If they were building it up the whole time and then went for a fake out and it was actually the professor, that would have been cool. But they didn't even do the fake out, it was just Bill. And I was gonna say even kids aren't that dumb, but I don't remember ever noticing it as a kid, so maybe they are. Maybe I'm just dumb. Regardless, it's always fun to revisit your childhood, and if you watched this as a kid, it'd be fun for you to do so as well, and I hope you did with me today. If you've never seen this film before and you're looking to watch it now, maybe if you have kids, maybe. If you have kids, show it to your kids. If you're looking to watch it on your own and you have no previous connection to it, maybe don't. But that is going to do it for my Scooby-Doo look back at Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. Will we do more Scooby-Doo in the future? Sure, why not? Thank you again, Gary, for using your points on this. Next week on the channel, actually, technically this week on the channel, we'll be back this Friday with Friday the 13th Part 2. But that is going to do it for me today. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to leave it a like. If you didn't like it, then don't. If you want to follow any of my social media links, they're all in the description down below. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting me and my channels. I appreciate you guys. With all that being said, though, my name is Noah Taft. This has been my Scooby-Doo look back at Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, released in 2001. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.